I love that intro. Don't you, Carcass?
I do. It's very positive and very soothing.
Very positive and
Yep.
uplifting and how we share our life. Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Choices Podcast. You can find us at choicespodcastofficial.com on YouTube. Very easy to find. All you have to do is type the words Choices Official Podcast. YouTube. There we go. www.youtube.com/@ Choices Podcast Official.
Easy pickings.
You can find it, open it up, and please subscribe to our website. All you have to do is scroll down a little bit. There's a subscribe box. Put your email address in there. We'd love to have you on. We're growing like a weed. We're having fun. We're getting a lot of outreach from people and input on what they want to hear about choices. Tonight's topic is the most famous laws in the world. How cool is that, dog?
Well,
Nobody knows where it's coming from
this
tonight,
one
dog.
threw me for a loop, but I'm here to learn something as much as I'm here to maybe give some advice. But on this one, you're the expert.
Hey, we're gonna have fun with it. So, have you picked a song
I
and some
have.
lyrics on?
Gonna blow your mind. This wasn't too much of a reach, by the way, because you said so. We're talking about the most famous laws. Well, and I didn't realize I've been singing this song since 1980, and I never realized it's kind of depressing. Kind of puts this individual into a desperate situation. But let me just read it. This is "Breaking the Law" by Judas Priest.
Oh no!
Yeah. It says there I was completely wasting, out of work and down. All inside it's so frustrating as I drift from town to town, feeling as though nobody cares if I live or die, so I might as well begin to put some action in my life. And then it repeats the chorus, breaking the law, over and over again. Then it says, so much for the golden future, I can't even start. I have had every promise broken. There's anger in my heart. You don't know what it's like. You don't have a clue. If you did, you'd find yourself doing the same thing too. Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law. So I didn't realize how desperate. I thought it was just a rebellious, I've seen the video and they're, the cops in this, they're British. So the English bobbies are kind of goofy and they're falling all over themselves. But this is a song of desperation. And I'm wondering how many people really feel this way, where they're just like they're just wasting their time and they're kind of down and out on their luck and they don't see an end in sight. And it makes them resort to a world of crime. I don't know. It's a little frightening.
Oh man, what was that recently on the shipwreck? Have you ever read any of those older ship sailing books? They're amazing because it's all about desperation. Because most of these kids, or most of the people that were on these ships, were kids. And it got to the point where if they would, they get lost in sea, Carcass, your arm starts looking pretty good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I just finished reading the book on the USS Indianapolis that was made famous by the movie Jaws. Remember when Quint was telling his story about they were talking about their scars, and he said that however many men went in the water and only 180 made it out. It was like 1,800 men because they were on a secret mission. The ship went down. Nobody came to look for them, and they were desperate. They just, they were floating, hoping and praying, and while their compadres got picked off one by one by the sharks. And it was desperate lives.
The
But
topic of the show tonight is most famous laws in the world. And the first famous law in the world is Murphy's Law.
okay, now I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, no, everybody thought I was going to say DWI law. No, man, that's so boring. Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Yep, I can see that.
How many people, though, have you ever seen? You know, the military, when they prepare for a mission, they prepare for every option, failure. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? You know, but some people live their life in fear that something is going to happen. Dog, I used to have it because I worked so hard during the week when I was a young lawyer. By the time I got to Friday, I'm like, oh man, I just want to get out of here at 5:00 and nothing go wrong. All of a sudden at 4:59, the phone rings and here comes a case just blowing up. Have you ever had that, Carcass?
Well, yes. I mean, I just had that experience recently. You know, when the your car never breaks down when there's money in the bank. You know,
Yeah.
it always seems to break down. And of course, then if you say something like the dealer guy or whoever's doing the repair says air conditioning unit is, that's an automatic $1,200 or more. So what do you do? It's like, and I just had my car serviced less than a year ago, by the way, and then somehow by some random chance took a rock through the condenser and no cold air. And in Texas, your car's got to blow cold air.
I just think, though, a lot of people live their life pretty negative.
I agree. I had this conversation yesterday with someone very close to me that, and it's because of what they see on the news or hear on the social medias and the internet and so forth, that they capitalize on people's fear. They make it sound like nothing will ever go right. And
yeah, that's gaslighting.
And I can just tell you this because of my recent experience of being out on the road. America's in better shape than you think it is. I saw it with my own eyes. I heard it with my own ears. I interacted with people of every ilk, black, white, male, female, trans, whatever, in all different cities. And we were united by the single thing of music, but people had a glint in their eye. They had hope. They had they were still had held out hope that things were going to be okay. But if you stay holed up in your house and watch TV and watch the internet, man, you're going to be scared to death.
Yeah, we call that comfort zone. Living in a big fat comfort zone. You got to get out of that comfort zone. Get out of the fear factor. Get out of there and live life.
I agree with you. Get out there. It was a chance for me to really see what the world was like, because I got comfortable in my little realm here.
Second famous law. So we got number one law is Murphy's Law. Number two law is called Kidlin's Law. Kidlin apostrophe S. Law. Kidlin's Law. It's a problem-solving theory. If you write the problem down clearly, then the matter is half solved. Dude, this is right down my alley here. That's the way I do a trial book. When I'm putting a trial book together, I'm going through, hey, here's the deal. Well, that's the first thing you do. You put the elements of what you have to prove down. 7 elements. Put them down. Writing them down is half of the conquering.
There's something about writing whether it be taking notes or making yourself a reminder that helps your brain remember that better. And I think that, to your point, if you write it down, then your problem's half solved, because now it's etched in your brain because you carved it down on a piece of paper with an ink pen or a pencil.
Note takers or money
Oh,
makers?
can I quote you on that? Note
Yes.
takers.
Note takers or money makers. Dude, I've hired people to job that sit in my office and take notes all day long.
You know, it's surprising that talent or that need to write things down scares people a little bit, because I remember looking for jobs, and I would go in there with a pen and and paper, and have some things already written down, and I would kind of put that in front of me, and I would say, okay, I'm ready to start listening, and they would say, what are you doing? I'm taking notes. You're letting me know what the job entails, and I'm taking a note so it reminds me. And they were like, well, why are you doing that? They would ask.
Well, actually, Phil used to teach us that when we were doing trial prep, Dr. Phil. And it's neural linguistics. If you're doing a physical act with an emotional moment, it concretes it.
A physical, I'm writing this down.
Act with an emotional moment. It creates an anchor. You don't forget it.
Yep.
You got that?
You know, they used to teach us growing up. My parents were big on. My grandmother was big on journaling, but my parents, especially, said, you got to write stuff down. You got to remember this. You got to be able to go back and see your improvement, or see where you've lacked, and see where you can improve. And
there's a method of journaling. I put it in my book. My book is called Push. Reach out to me and I'll get you a copy, but there's a whole chapter on journaling. Journaling the right way to make it work for you and be successful. Okay, we got to sort of move along here because we have 5 laws.
Okay.
First law was Murphy's Law. Second law was Kydland's Law. Third law was Gilbert's Law. When you take on a task, finding the best ways to achieve the desired result is always your responsibility. It's sort of like, I like it. It's sort of military style if you think about it.
Well,
your objective, right? What's our objective? And then whatever the objective is, you write your 3 or 4 points that help you get to your objective. You can do that on any problem that you ever have, ever. We do that all the time in my law office, standing at a board. What's the objective? What's the task? When we did, I came up with this idea. It's really pretty cool. Before, this was 10 years ago. You remember when Tony Romo was quarterback?
Yeah.
He had a hard time reading blitzes. So I came up with an idea. Jerry's got that big screen out there at Cowboy Stadium, that if they did a 4D helmet where the coach is over here on the side, and Tony Romo's got this helmet on, and they could see the screens at the same time coming at him while he's on the field, right? He can learn screens that way. It was a great idea. So anyways, one of my entrepreneurial friends he's psycho entrepreneurial. Let's do it. I love it. We got TI. TI was sponsoring us. They were supporting us. They loved the idea of putting that software in a helmet. And we went out to the stadium and had a meeting And it was directed by a dear friend of mine, a dear friend of my wife's, who was a vice president of Coca-Cola. And that's what he did, was direct these strategy meetings. And he was all about identify the barriers, remove the barriers. And if you can do that, you're going to be successful. What's your objective? Identify the barriers, remove the barriers. And Brett, what are your barriers? And come to find out, that wasn't the technology, because TI was out there. We could do this. It wasn't the helmet. We had already got their support. The barrier was patent trolls. There was one little patent that had a video hookup to a helmet. I think we could have got past it, right? But it was $1 million, and I wasn't willing to risk it.
So you're saying you were going to do like a heads-up display in the helmet?
No, it was going to have software in the helmet where he was seeing the screens. He'd be on the field. They were throwing screens at him with players, and it was going to be on the screen, in the Jerry screen in the middle of the field, and the coach and him could see it at the same time.
But doesn't that sound like an unfair advantage?
No, it's called coaching.
Okay.
Anyways, that's what happened. It saved me a lot of money. This whole idea of Gilbert's law, writing it down and trying to figure out, write it down and identify the barriers or remove the barriers. That's what Gilbert's law is all about. I like it. Also, Gilbert's law is military. I'm showing you a book, Carcass. Can you see who the author is?
Admiral William H. McRaven.
He was the former chancellor at UT. He was the admiral and the boss of the Bin Laden, who shot Bin Laden, that whole SEAL 6 mission.
Okay.
He directed it. And I fortunately represent the guy who shot Bin Laden.
You might just refresh our listeners as to why you had to represent him. Oh, you can't?
No, you don't even know his name.
Hey,
listen, this book, they talked about the government, how much money they spent on construction companies on building the walls where Bin Laden was staying, and building the replica where he was living. It was like a large amount of money, but they kept going it over. And then Murphy's Law kicked in, because remember, the one helicopter went down. And anyways, but he has written this book that's all about task conquering, which is Gilbert's Law. From having your own council of colonels. I love that. To first reports are always wrong. Move all your options forward. Don't rush to failure. Micromanagement is not an ugly word. Dictate the tempo. There's always time for a morale check. Great book. Got it?
Got it.
That's Gilbert Law, taking the lead and making decisions based on clear guidance of defining your task. All right?
Got it.
Next law is, we've done Murphy's Law, Gilbert's
Law.
Now we're doing Wilson's Law. Prioritizing knowledge and intelligence is a key strategy for building wealth and achieving financial success. it emphasizes, it focuses on, Wilson's law focuses on knowledge. Have you ever seen these young guys get out of school and they say, well, without even having their first job, I'm going to be a day trader?
Hey, Brett, I used to see that this was part of my frustration where I used to work. And it finally was kind of the straw breaking the camel's back that I would get these wet behind the ears young landscape architects that thought, I've got this piece of paper, I know everything, trying to explain to me why a desert plant that's sitting in water isn't doing well. And somehow that was the landscaper's fault, when I'm saying, well, the key word here is desert, which means it doesn't need a lot of water. So why did you design it in a bed that gets a lot of water with plants that need a lot of water, and then you put a tree bubbler on it? Why did you do that? Well, you don't understand. No, I understand, because 42 years of understanding and experience have led me to this point, and I'm trying to educate you. And I always said, if I ever had the landscape design university of Fossum, that the first semester as a freshman, they would be mowing lawns. Second semester, they would be digging ditches for pipes and learning about irrigation. The third semester, they would be digging holes and planting trees and doing gravel paths. And then the fourth semester, when they were seniors, I might let them draw a pretty picture, because I think all that experience would help them understand the reasons why we do certain things. So to your point, yes.
It is. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Wilson's law strategizes, or the key strategy of Wilson's law is knowledge and intelligence, and not money grabbing. Like, just like I was talking about, some kid just gets out of school, he's got a finance degree, he's going to become a day trader, and he's like, hey, Mr. B, give me 2,500 and I'll double it in 60 days. I'll give you 2 times the money. Oh, yeah? How you going to do it? I'm going to day trade. How you going to day trade? Well, yeah, I'm not going to tell you my secrets. Oh, okay. And it's interesting because it took me a long time to realize that knowledge and intelligence gets me a lot further than worrying about payroll, rent, and long-term success on money, on how much. Because once you concentrate on the knowledge, good things are going to happen to you. On intelligence, good things are going to flow in because you're doing it for all the right reasons, right?
Agreed.
And I like that Wilson's law. I think it's a great idea. Maybe some of our listeners will use it to test whether someone's trying to rip them off, or just like you said, Carcass, throw some young buck landscape architect who's looking at, or ways to make the company money without thoughtfully thinking about how he's going to make a tree live for the client, right?
I've spent 40 plus years going back and looking at things that I've done in the past to see how they're doing. And most of the time I made good decisions from a design standpoint. Yeah.
You made great decisions. Our yard, you did our yard. It's gorgeous. My cypress trees got sick the last couple of years. I'm going to have to take them out.
Oh, yeah.
Big ones by the pool. But anyways, that ain't got nothing to, I mean, that outlived its life. But I'm just saying, give me someone who's intelligent, and I can do something with them. My wife was telling me yesterday, she goes, they have a lot of employees, not a lot. I mean, 150. She was telling me that, she goes, we got this young kid. He's an introvert, and he's very quiet, but he's very, very smart. So I've spent the last couple of weeks pulling him out, and getting his confidence level up. And he is now the CEO's right-hand man. He's shining, right? He's smart. He knows how to fix the problems that they have. Give me somebody that's smart, and I can figure it out for you. Give me somebody that's lazy and I don't want to use a word like that. Lazy and
unmotivated.
Unmotivated. I'll leave him on the sideline. I don't have time for it.
Well, when I was coaching select league baseball, it was always easier to throttle players that had an overabundance of either speed or talent or whatever, to bring them back to the basics to help sharpen those talents than it was to try and teach somebody to run faster or to have a feel for the game. There are just certain people that have a feel for the game, whether it's baseball or whether it's day trading or whether it's landscape architecture.
Yeah.
Right.
It's their passion. They're passionate about what they do. Okay, we got to keep going. We got Falklands Law. Have you heard of it?
Falkland Islands are.
F-A-L-K. No, Falklands Law.
No.
Named after Falklands War. I live this law. Dude. It's a principle suggesting that when a decision isn't urgently needed, it's best to avoid making it.
Wow.
This law emphasizes saving mental energy and avoiding unnecessary anxiety by recognizing when a decision truly isn't required. Okay. Reduces anxiety, conserves mental energy, allows for strategic thinking, avoids impulsive actions. You know what this is called? Falklands Law. You know what it could be called?
Good common sense. Oh,
noodling.
Avoid noodling?
No, always noodle. It's like when my wife and I were young and newly married, it was funny because we'd have a house, we need to furnish it, and we'd go look at a piece of furniture, and either one of us to this day can invoke the 24-hour rule. You like this couch? I don't know. I'm going to invoke the 24-hour rule. Let's think about it. You know what that does? 99% of the time you won't get it.
It gives you a chance to sort it out in your own head. So it's not impulsive.
Yeah.
It removes the impulse.
It does. And isn't it true that God has a way of waking you up in the middle of the night with problems? Problem solving, not with problems.
With the answer.
Yeah. That's what Falklands Law is. It could be called the Lord's Prayer, But Falklands Law is about, dude, take your time. Don't rush it. Well, you know what else that means? That you have to get ahead of it. You can't wait to the last minute to do things.
I like that part. Plan ahead.
Plan ahead. Get ahead of the curve.
Kind of like the military, like you said, they would plan for anything. Good results, bad results, mediocre results. They had a plan to combat and move or angle to a different spot.
Yeah. I always like to tell people, we do a lot of church law. I have a law firm with Denny, Stalcup, Brewer, Wallace, and Lang. And we have a saying to churches, especially these big mega churches that we represent. I mean, big. you better get ahead of it. Don't wait for it to come on top of you. You
Like my
better get
mom
ahead of
said,
it.
make those decisions before you have to make those decisions.
Yeah, I love that. Well, look, let's have your mom doing the quote for the night. Say it again.
My mother
I
always
love
told
that.
me as a young man that I should make the decision before I have to make the decision. When you're in the heat of battle, it's hard to make the right decision. But if you already decided that, and she was speaking mainly about drinking and smoking and using drugs, she said, make it up in your mind that you're just not going to do it. So when that is presented to you, you don't have to think about it because you already know the answer. The answer's no.
That's awesome.
Marietta.
What's your mom's name?
Yep.
Marietta. She did the quote of the night. So just to recap, we have Murphy's Law, the fear law. We have Kidlin's law, the write down your problem law. We have Gilbert's law, the task law, objective task, remove the barriers. We have Wilson's law, the money making law is intelligence gathering, not money gathering. And then we have Falkland's law, which is
take your time, plan ahead.
Plan ahead. As Marietta says,
make that decision before you have to make that decision.
That's awesome. We appreciate y'all watching our show, listening to us. Thank you very much. See you next Tuesday. Carcass, John, and
Thank
Brett,
you.
we're out of
here.
Have
a nice night.